We're at that period of the NBA season where the buyout market really opens up right after the trade deadline, and some exciting players can be available to bring into your team. But in today's video, I'm going to explain to you exactly why the Raptors will not be active in this market and why you should not expect any new players of significance coming into the team. Let's get into it. What's going on, everybody? It's Jacob here, back with Amateur Hour TV, the second channel in the Amateur Hour production network. And on this channel, we go through additional NBA-related topics, especially concerning the Toronto Raptors, in this less formal, less professional approach where I can just be myself and talk ball. My main channel, Amateur Hour Sports, is reserved for Raptor-specific content, but over here, some extra stuff, general NBA stuff, and also Raptor stuff just like this. So if you find yourself enjoying this one along the way, please hit that thumbs up button. It does go a long way to supporting the channel, getting us on some more recommended pages. And also, please make sure you are subscribed to this channel so you never miss out on any of the content. I know I haven't done as many videos. I was supposed to do more last week, to start doing more last week. Then I got sick. Then I lost my voice. Expect more content in the coming weeks. But today's video is a focus on the buyout market and if the Raptors are going to be any sort of player in that buyout market. I mean, right now, the Raptors were right after the trade deadline where, whether you agree or disagree with the direction, it seems like the front office has chosen the direction of winning. They wanted to win as many games as possible, compete for a play-in position, compete for a playoff position, and maybe buyout candidates are something that can help you achieve that. I mean, you might agree or disagree. Like I said, I personally disagree with the direction, but that is the direction seemingly that has been taken on by the Raptors front office. So obviously, buyout players like Danny Gren, like Terrence Ross could come in and definitely make a difference to your team. And I mean, it's exciting to see these players available, like Danny Gren, former Raptor, could bring a nice veteran presence to the team, could bring in some defense and floor space, and that would have been nice. I mean, reports are that he's now signed with the Cleveland Cavaliers, so that one is gone. But players like that are here. Terrence Ross, another former Raptor who can definitely space the floor, come off our bench and be a scorer, give us like 8 to 10 points per game. That would be a breath of fresh air to this Raptors bench. That could definitely make a difference. And that's not the end of the list of buyout players that are available. Now, I will say, typically I find the buyout market to be a little bit overrated. It's very rare for a buyout player to go into a team and really make a difference there. I mean, there's a reason they're getting bought out most of the time. There's a reason they're getting bought out. There's a reason they weren't traded at the deadline. There's something about the player that doesn't really provide enough value to warrant a trade. So buyout market can be a little bit overrated, but with the Raptors team so depleted of depth, so depleted of bench help, yes, it could make a difference, but we're going to talk about, as I said in the intro, as I said in the title of this video, why you should not expect any of these buyout players to come into the Toronto Raptors for the rest of the season. Because I've been seeing people, Ibaka's available. Like I said, Terrence Ross available. Everybody wants that fun Raptors reunion to bring up the vibes of the season. Now, I won't say I don't want that to happen, but people are failing to understand the bigger picture of the situation. Now, this isn't in relation to the fact that the Raptors, well, they're not that good. They're going to probably make the play-in tournament. It won't be easy, but they probably will be a play-in tournament team. And, if I'm Terrence Ross or if I'm Danny Gren, we already saw Danny Gren make his decision, probably want to spend the next 4 months on a contender and try my hand at a playoff run, try my hand at, maybe winning an NBA championship. So I don't see the Raptors as a very premier destination at the moment for winning and for what buyout players are typically looking for. But that's not what this video is about. The video is strictly about the financial situation of the Toronto Raptors. Now, that financial situation was made a little bit more constricted in signing buyout players when the Raptors signed Joe Wieskamp a few days ago. Now, I like the signing of Joe Wieskamp. It brings us a shooter. It brings us something different. He's been signed in a multi-year deal, which is essentially a guarantee for the rest of this season and a non-guarantee for next season, where he's going to have the opportunity to earn a roster spot through training camp in the summer, which I think is a good move. Maybe he can add in some other skills. Maybe he can prove that he's just such a good shooter that it can kind of make up for the other deficiencies in his game. But I like the signing. I like the acquisition. You take a nice flyer on a guy who had some success in his 2 10-day stints with the team, and you're going to have him for the rest of the season where you can get a better look at him, develop him into that summer spot where you can really gauge what kind of a player he is. But signing that player, well, we already didn't really have enough money to sign any player from the buyout market and remain under the tax. Now, the tax, obviously, you can go over the tax, but it's a very, very hefty price tag to bring in somebody and go a little bit over the tax here. Very few teams, even at all, do go into that luxury tax, and you got to make sure you're one of the best teams in the NBA to go into the luxury tax at all. And the Raptors, with all due respect, are not one of those teams. So, in order to sign somebody, it would be very difficult under the luxury tax. And also, on top of all that, on top of the financial situation, Joe Wieskamp just took over the final roster spot on the team, which was vacant after the Raptors waived Justin Champagnie right at the turn of the new year. I don't know if it was right before the new year or right after the new year. It feels right before, but when Justin Champagnie got waived, that opened up a roster spot for this team, which was assumed very recently by Joe Wieskamp. So there's no roster spot available for the Raptors here to sign a player. Now, that doesn't constrict you either from bringing a player in, because you can waive somebody. Justin Champagnie got waived. Somebody else on the team could also get waived, and that could free up some roster spots as well. Well, yes, but probably not. The biggest candidate to get waived to free up that roster spot would likely be Delano Banton. Delano Banton would probably be the first player who gets waived. The Raptors had to waive somebody. They would probably waive Delano Banton. Now, I understand Delano Banton's a bit of a fan favorite. People like Delano Banton, but the reality is he struggles to get play time. When he does, he very rarely has any meaningful contributions. There must be a little bit of doubt settling in on what he can achieve in his Raptors career going forward, what sort of impact he can have on an NBA team in general going forward. Now, I like the guy. I like the player. I mean, I like that he's Canadian. I like that he represents the city, but in terms of like NBA product, he's a point guard. He cannot shoot. His passing isn't quite good enough for the NBA level. His decision making isn't quite there. He just he has the size. I get it. His defense is very suspect, like very, very suspect. And his ability to find like those entry passes that actually gets the offense flowing isn't there for me. So regardless, that would be the player the Raptors likely look to move in order to free up a roster spot in the buyout market. But the Spurs, I mean, we could take this from what the information we had from the trade deadline. The Spurs seemingly had interest in actually bringing in Delano Banton and working on his game. I mean, I think that'd be a good situation for Banton, working a little bit with Coach Pop, getting a spot where he might find some more minutes on the court. Like, I think that's a good spot for the player. But the Raptors seemingly were keen on keeping him. And I feel like that 2025 second round pick that went to the San Antonio Spurs in that trade for Jakob Poeltl could have been Delano Banton instead of that second round pick, but the Raptors wanted to keep him. So that's like what I can gauge from everything going on here. That is absolutely not a guarantee. I don't have a source to cite on that, but what I do with Amateur Hour and all these channels and all the stuff I talk about here is I take all the information present and try to formulate what actually happened based off of that. And based on what we have here, all the information that is present from these Jakob Poeltl trades, from the Delano Banton reports and rumors, the Raptors wanted to keep Banton. It could have softened the blow of the draft capital going to the Spurs if we had traded him to them, but we were keen on keeping him. So I don't understand. Well, I do understand, but the Raptors would not be so keen on not involving Delano Banton in a trade just to waive him and bring in a buyout player. Because technically at this point, I believe it's possible to waive Delano Banton, bring in a buyout player, and stay under the tax. But I don't see the Raptors, who were keen on keeping him at the trade deadline, now waiving him to bring in a buyout player where, like I said, largely the buyout market is overrated, and you're not going to get a player that makes any real difference to your team. I'd love to take, a flyer on a G League guy to just try something out for the rest of the season, though even then, you rarely get anything that pans out with any sort of significance there. But overall, you'd have to waive Banton, or you'd have to find another way to fit a guy under the tax, and it just doesn't seem like something that is very plausible for the Raptors to do for a player that likely doesn't change very much for your team, because the biggest and best buyout players are going to land themselves almost certainly on contenders. So the Raptors, their team right now, that seems to be pretty much it. There could be some fun 10-day guys in, sort of like Freddie Gillespie, sort of like Armani Brooks, but I would say that is still quite unlikely. I mean, I think that's possible to bring in a 10-day guy, but very unlikely we see any significant entries to the team through the buyout market. And whether or not you like that, it kind of is what it is. So that is it for today's video. If you guys did enjoy, please make sure you hit that thumbs up button. It does go a long way to supporting the channel. And make sure you subscribe to MHR TV for more content like this. Around My Head is a recent video that you also might like from this channel and all the other channels in the Amateur Hour Production Network, at least most of them. Amateur Hour Sports, my main channel, Amateur Hour Clips, the best highlights from our streams live on YouTube. Thanks again.